Good morning. Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to see us all here. It truly is. And if you haven't already done so, please take a moment out to silence your cell phones. And in respect to those who are vaccinated and unvaccinated, we will continue to stay masked and socially distanced while in the building. And parents, if you haven't done so, please sign your children up at the table in the foyer for the youth ministry classes. And thank you all for your cooperation and enjoy today's service. It's great to be here with you.
Good morning. Good morning. The affirmation today is, I am at peace with the silence. We could say it together. I am at peace with the silence. Thank you.
All right, I'm late. We were all late. All right, so thank you guys. There's not a clock in my office. And I'm just going to apologize for anything I say or do that I shouldn't say or do. I've got post-COVID vaccination stuff still going on. So I'm mostly here. And yeah, so I want the kids to come up. Can we have all the kids come on up? Because it's your Sunday. Come on over here, guys. Come on up here. There we go. Hey, am I missing one? Hey, guys. How are you today? Good. Good? Yeah, you want to turn around and look at me? I would love to see you. Hi. Yeah. And so I interrupted the prayer, right? The prayer's not been done. Okay. Yes, no. All right, everyone. So we're going to pray. You guys all know how to pray, right? Yeah? Okay. Hi. All right. So we're going to do our opening prayer. And so we just turn within. And as we pray today, we hold these dear kids in our hearts. We're so grateful to have youth in this ministry and for all of the good that they are doing for this church and for the community, especially this week, as they reach out to share with the community their talents of organization, of motivation, of inspiration. And for everyone who walks through the doors this morning, we invite you into a space of peace, a space of love, and a space of willingness. Willingness to see from a different perspective, willingness to change, willingness to transform. And we are just grateful, so grateful for each and every person here and for each and every person who's connecting with us online. And so it is. Amen. And I do want to welcome you to Unity of Mesa again, where we enlighten, empower, and energize one another to uplift our world for a greater expression of God. For those of you watching at home, we want to apologize for our internet crash last week. We weren't able to recover any video either, but we now have a backup plan in place so we can at least upload the complete service afterwards if anything goes wrong today. But just hang in there with us. There have been internet issues all week here, so we're working that out. We been working with Cox and with our IT person. And we thank you for being with us this morning also. And I am Reverend Judy Hildebrand. This morning we have platform is John Groves, and Aaron Richardson is our board member of the day, who's also serving as youth ministry. So he's playing a couple of roles, so we may go back and forth on who's doing what this morning. And our guest speaker is Karen Peifer. And our music team today is Tritonic. We have Kim, Cheryl, and Dennis. And we love our music, don't we? So we have an opportunity, due to a series of incidents, to bring in Daniel Nahmad in November. He is a little bit outside of the budget that we've got. So if anyone would be interested in underwriting part of his additional costs that it would take, I need to make a decision by midweek. But if you'd be interested in contributing a little bit above and beyond what you usually give to the church to bring Daniel in, we will be glad to get him here if I can get enough funds raised. So please let me know by Wednesday, Judy at unityofmesa.org. And now, I want to talk with the kids. So why don't you scoot over here, guys? Come on over. Come on over. There we go. All right. So we talked last week about prayer, didn't we? Just a little bit, huh? Did we? Yes? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And my understanding was you guys didn't pray a lot, do you? No, not a lot. How about if I gave you some ideas to make it a little bit easier? Have all of you seen how people sometimes hold their hands like this when they pray? Can you hold your hands like this? And can you put your thumbs by your heart? Because that's where your love is? Yeah. And so what if we used our fingers on our hand to remember who we can pray for? And this goes for us too. Can we use the fingers on our hands to remember who all to include when we pray? So, and this comes from Pope Francis. He's like the big leader of the Catholic Church. He's like the big head boss. You guys have big head bosses some places in your life? Like at home, who's the head boss? Mom? I won't say which one it came from. Anyone else have a head boss at home? Mom? All right, we're getting the picture here, don't we? Okay, so when we pray, if we use our thumb to remind us to pray for everyone who is closest to our heart. So if my thumbs are here, it's touching my heart. And I hold those who are closest to me in my life, close to my heart. So who's really close to you in your life? Besides mom, who's the boss, who else is close to you? Your brother, absolutely. Who else is close to you? Do you have somebody who's close to you? Anybody have a grandma who's close to them? Somebody you love? Grandmas, maybe? Grandpas? How about dads? Some of us have dads. Most of us have a dad someplace. Yeah. How about, do we have a friend? Does anybody have a friend that you love a lot? Yeah, so the thumb reminds us of the people who are closest to us, because the thumb is what goes close to our heart when we hold our hands in prayer hands. Then our pointer finger, this finger, the next finger, right? We've got a thumb, then we got that next finger, and it points the way to go. And so who are the people in your life who point the way to go for you? Who maybe tells you some suggestions, gives you some suggestions of how to do things different or better, or teaches you? Does anybody have a teacher at school? So do they point the way to go? I mean, think about your very first day at school. Don't they tell you where the bathroom is? That's important to know, isn't it? So they point the way to go. And sometimes they point the way to go in life by maybe telling you something that'll keep you safe. maybe telling you something that'll make it easier to do something, maybe telling you how to get along with a friend if the friend's made you mad, right? So this finger is to pray for people who point the way for you and help you find your direction. The middle finger, that tall middle finger, that's for the leaders of the world, the leaders who make the big decisions. Yeah, I saw there's a leader over there, isn't there? Yeah. But the people in the world who make the big decisions, like our president, our legislatures, the principal at school, the headmistress or the headmaster at the school, those people need prayers. Even your minister here, this minister needs prayers today. Yeah, so even your ministers need prayer. So this finger, the big tall one's for the people who have to make some of the big decisions. At the church, we have a board of directors. And we need to pray for our board of directors because they make the big decisions for the church, don't they? Yeah. And then our ring finger. If you put your hands together and you try to take your ring finger apart, not the middle finger. The middle finger's easy. The next finger, the finger between the middle finger and the baby finger is the ring finger. Yeah, it's hard to do that one, isn't it? If you take the others apart, they come apart lots easier. The ring finger's a little bit harder. And that's because the ring finger is for those who are struggling, those who maybe feel a little bit weaker, those who maybe have been sick, those who are maybe really sad, those who are finding life is really hard right now. So we want to pray for those people because they need extra help right now. And then what do you think the little finger's for? Who have we forgotten? Us. The little finger. So without the little finger, our hand's not complete, is it? Without you, our world is incomplete. So we get to pray for ourselves. Have you ever prayed for yourself? What if tonight you pray for yourself and maybe you pray to be strong and to make good choices? Could you pray and make good choices tomorrow? Or maybe do you need to pray that right now? Do we need to pray to make good choices today? But what about if you pray for yourself? And don't forget, your hand's not done. Your 5 fingers aren't done until you pray for yourself. So do you think maybe that will help you with some things to pray about? And you know what? When you're praying, all you're doing is having a conversation with God. And then after you pray, if you sit really quiet, you might hear an answer. And you may not know where it came from, but that will be from God. Okay? How about that? And what are we praying for this week? Olivia, what are you praying happens this week? Here at church. What would you like to see happen at church this week? So what's happening out on the front door, front step? The food drive. So what would you like to see happen with the food drive? We get lots of donations. So the prayer for the kids today might be to have lots of donations for the food drive. And you know what? I think that could be a prayer for all the adults too. Lots of donations for the food drive. And we've got one more thing I want to talk about just a little bit. Do y'all know what these are? Looks like a necklace. Looks like a funky necklace. Do you know what it is? It's called prayer beads. And sometimes, especially if we're kind of a wriggly person, sometimes if we're praying and we touch a bead and we touch a different bead with every person or thing that we pray about, it helps us remember that. Because some of us like to wiggle a lot. That would have been me. That's still me. So if I pray for my mom, I pray for my dad. I pray for myself that we all are wise. We all make good choices. And as I touch this, it helps it stay in me and it helps it go out to the world. And so that's what these are. And I think you guys are going to get to make some today over when you go next door. How about that? And sometimes we have long ones, and sometimes we have short ones that go on our wrist. So I think you'll get to decide. Anything you want to say about prayer today? Nope. Nope. All right. And you are very brave. This is your first time here, isn't it? You're very brave. Congratulations. Yeah. Do you remember how we clap with our kids when it's nice? We snap our fingers. Yeah. And for all of our children who are up here, we thank them. And now we're going to let our musicians come up, and they're going to do a song that we've done before, and you guys, kids, get to get up because you get to do something with it. So stand on up.
And you kids can get up and do something with it too, if you like.
Namaste. We're doing the namaste. Everybody's doing the namaste. It's the latest, greatest craze. The namaste. Namaste. We're doing the namaste. Everybody's doing the namaste. It's the latest, greatest craze. Namaste. Hands to heart in prayer. Make eye contact. Lean a little bit forward. Speak the word. Namaste. 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 We're doing the namaste. Everybody's doing the namaste. It's the latest, greatest craze. Namaste. Namaste. We're doing the namaste. Everybody's doing the namaste. It's the latest, greatest craze. Namaste. Hands to heart in prayer. Make eye contact. Lean a little bit forward. Speak the word. Namaste. 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 Do the namaste.
That's good enough, unless you want to do it some more.
Next time, everybody's going to be up and namasteing each other.
Oops. Good morning. I have a few announcements for us today. Beginning at 11:45, quarter to 12 today, we will have a new member class. This is one of the requirements to join Unity of Mesa. And while the online registration is now closed, if you'd like to be part of it and you're here, just come quickly after lunch and we can register you at the bookstore. We have several upcoming classes and events you may want to check out. Karen Peifer, our speaker this morning, is leading a second Sangha group that begins tomorrow evening. Dennis, our musician and director of music, is teaching a unity class. It's titled Discovering Wholeness Within, and it'll be in the month of November. And Reverend Judy is facilitating a 3-day men's workshop retreat, The Art of Masculine Presence. And this will take place over the November 12th weekend. You can find details, dates and times, registrations, and more on all of these classes and events on our Things for You to Know page at unityofmesa.org. Registration for the Sangha and the Art of Masculine Presence workshop are also available in the bookstore. 2 final announcements. First, the last Sunday of the month, this month, is Halloween. If you would be interested in being part of a special Halloween activity for the kids after service, please contact Reverend Judy. Full disclosure, no specific activity is planned. That would be one of the rules. And second, also having to do with our children, if you are a parent of a preschooler ages 3 to 5 and are interested in having a conversation on reopening our nursery and what that would look like, please email Reverend Judy at judy@unityofmesa.org. Thank you all for sharing your love and light with us this morning. Please know that your soul is welcome here. And now, let's share our guiding statement to remind us why we come together. Please say with me, we are here to experience more of the fullness of who we truly are in order to transform the world. All are welcome here. Now let's prepare for meditation. With our affirmation this morning, I am at peace with the silence. I have to ask myself, is this a bit of an antithetical atmosphere? Because I'm using words to introduce the subject, and there's so many voices. But stop and think for a moment. Are we concerned about the voices outside or the voices inside? And that's where we have to find our peace more often than not. So let's take a moment now, relax where you're comfortable. Let your mind move away from the distractions, the concerns that might otherwise overtake us. And breathing in and allowing that breath to sustain us and relax us and move us away from the distractions. Let's be at peace and let's enter into the silence. Now, as we conclude our time of silence, let's open our eyes, take note of our surroundings, and rejoin our morning service.
Speaking of Daniel Namod, I wrote this song probably 2017. Daniel Namod was doing a music conference up in Scottsdale, and I brought this song to him. And he made a couple suggestions, most of which I took, and then we played it for everybody afterwards. So this is a song I wrote with a little bit of Daniel Namod's help.
I go to the silence. I go to the stillness. I go to the center of my soul. My soul. I stay in the quiet. I breathe in the moment. I rest in the presence of my God. My God within. I go to where I know I am one with it all. I go to where I know I am holy, I am whole. I go to the silence. I go to the stillness. I go to the center of my soul. My soul. I go to that place of peace inside myself, where spirit dwells. I stay in the quiet. I breathe in the moment. I rest in the presence of my God. My God within. My God. My God within.
Good morning again. What a lovely song. That was just perfect, just kind of fit. I'm really honored that Judy asked me to speak. Part of it is the theme for the month is prayer and meditation, and I have had a meditation practice for over 25 years. I can't say that I sit in meditation every single day of that 25 years, but I definitely have found it to be where I find my peace and my quiet. I started learning about meditation while living in San Jose, California. I attended the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment services. The practice was based on Kriya Yoga, which is based on Paramasa Yogananda's teaching. He was an interesting guy. I never met him, but he came to the US in the 1920s. And one of his teachers, not his teachers, but one of his disciples was Eugene Davis. And the lead minister for the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment was one of his disciples as well. So it was a really interesting place to go and to learn how to meditate. So I decided I'd take a class in meditation. So I went, I signed up, I went. It was an 8-week course on how to meditate, the importance of meditation. And the first assignment was you were required to sit for an hour every day in meditation. That was a real setup for failure. I had never meditated before. So like sitting for an hour would mean that, I would fail. And I'm not one to fail. So I figured I'd try some other goals. So my first goal was to find a place to sit in my house. The second one was to get up and go sit. That was it. So it took me 3 or 4 days to kind of get all that arranged. So I thought, okay, I'm getting up and I'm going and I'm sitting. So the next goal was I'm going to sit for 5 minutes and see what that feels like. So I did. It took me a couple days, but I accomplished that goal. I got up, I sat for 5 minutes. And then pretty soon I extended that to I'm going to sit for 10 minutes, or I'll sit for 20 minutes, or I'll sit for 30 minutes, or I'll sit for 40 minutes. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I was sitting for 50 minutes, which I thought was a major accomplishment. I went from get up to sitting for 50 minutes. The whole course taught me the importance of meditation and the way that it feels inside my body to be able to sit and quiet and in that silence. Kriya Yoga is considered a practice of superconsciousness meditation. The process is described as digging a well for water that is so freely available and abundant. It teaches us how to awaken to the spiritual presence or divine nature that is always there and the foundation of our existence. Sound familiar? What I learned is that I could do it. I could sit in meditation. It allowed me to be calmer, less anxious. I felt like I had a better center of who I was and where I was. And trying to dig into this well of spiritual growth was really important. It was important to me at the time. It's continued to be important. So what I learned was to basically look at the depths of my own spiritual being, what that means, where that is, where that's centered within me. But then I moved to Denver. So it was a little bit different. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in Denver for a meditation practice. So I tried a couple different places, but because I was teaching at the University of Colorado, there was this group called the Developmental Psychological Research Group. Now you'd say, well, what does that have to do with meditation? It really has a lot to do with it. You're looking at the neural pathways that are developing as you sit and meditate. They start with like how you develop those neural pathways as an infant and all the way through your age. But it's really important to understand, at least for me, to understand a little bit about the science. And I know the Dalai Lama actually met with all of these neuroscientists at one point to say, how does meditation fit with all of this? How does it all fit with this development of those neural pathways? So some of you might have heard of John Kabat-Zinn. He was a physician who he worked with the Dalai Lama a little bit, and he really looked at the power of meditation and developed what's called mindfulness-based stress reduction. So meditation moved from just the spiritual plane to the physical, the medical side. So how many of you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "You're a little stressed. Have you tried meditation?" It's like, 20, 30 years ago, they would have thought you were wacko. And now they're like, try meditation, see what that looks like. And there are many, many classes on how to do meditation. So John Kabat-Zinn identified 9 attitudes that can be cultivated in everyday life and a formal mindfulness practice. The first one, non-judgment. How do we turn that inner critic off? I often teach meditation classes, and the first thing people say is, "I can't do it. I tried before. I can't do it." And my thought is, you have to turn off that inner critic. You have to go into it with no judgment. And when all that stuff kind of floats up in your head, just know that it does, and try to be non-judgmental. The second one is patience. Be really patient with what you're doing. How often are we patient with ourselves? How many things do we need to learn? How many things do we need to do? I didn't get everything done today. All this stuff. It's just like, how do we be patient with ourselves? And how do we do that when we're sitting in meditation? And the third one is the beginner's mind. I really like this one a lot because in every practice of meditation, the teachers talk about the beginner's mind. You start off, no matter how long you've been meditating, you start off with a beginner's mind. It's like, you have no idea where it's going to go. I went to a 3-day silent meditation retreat a couple years ago, and it was so lovely. And I came home and I was so charged. I was so jumped up because it was like, I was deep into this. And I thought, I'm going to sit and meditate this morning. So I got up, I sat on my cushion. All of a sudden I'm looking at it and going, it's only been 5 minutes. It's like, whoa, I've been sitting for like an hours. And now all of a sudden 5 minutes seems like a really long time. And I just have to laugh. You just have to learn how to laugh with yourself and say, okay, what's next? The fourth one is trusting. The attitude of trusting that the body will support its own life, that the breath will support itself, the organs will continue to function, and that the mind and the heart can heal themselves. Again, sound familiar? It's very similar to some of the teachings at Unity. The next one is non-striving, the attitude of not seeking anything, just being mindful of where you are and what's in your mind. I often think, okay, there's a to-do list. Let it go. Why is it showing up again? Let it go. And really settling into that meditation. The other one is acceptance. Being accepting of who you are. They talk a lot about self-compassion. So it's really learning how to be compassionate with yourself and not being so critical. The next one is letting go. The attitude that's the opposite of clinging and grasping, but just letting it go. I use the image of, you have a little river running by you. And if all these things come up, just put them in the river and let them go by. But you don't have to be anywhere else. You just have to sit. Just be calm. And the last one is generosity, the attitude of giving oneself over to life and giving to other people what would make them happy for the sake of the joy that it brings them. So I think it's important to have a practice, no matter what that practice is, no matter what it looks like. And if your practice is, I got up and I sat for 5 minutes, that's perfectly fine. But you also want to look at how you do it, some of the mechanisms around it. So I talked a little bit about the why it's important. So now I want to talk a little bit about the how you do it, how you set up a practice. So your object of meditation is your breath, is being able to feel the air going in, feel the exhale. There are many meditative practices that only focus on that inhale and the exhale. So being able to do that, being able to kind of sense that as you're sitting, and if your mind goes down some rabbit trail, which happens all the time, you just bring it back to feeling the breath going in and feeling the breath going out. And in doing that, you also cultivate some compassion for yourself and realize that there's no right or wrong way of doing this. You want to make sure that you're aware of what your breath is and feel it. Feel it going in your nose, down your throat, into your lungs, and then back out. Just focusing on that and concentrating on it will help you get into a very relaxed state. The next one is finding a place. This one's a harder one, particularly if you have young children or animals that are running around. You got to find a place where you can sit. It could be a chair in your living room. It could be on your bed. It could be on the floor, on a cushion, in a corner. It could be wherever. But designate a space that's your space. That's where you're going to sit. And be able to find that space, set it up and find that place when you need it, when you're going to go and sit. So you can ask those that you live with to honor that space, to honor your quiet or your need for sitting, and just say, I'm just going to take 15 minutes and go in the room, sit in the chair, shut the door, and ask them to just let you be for a couple minutes. Generally it works. I think if you've got toddlers banging on the door, or you have kids that are fighting out in the hallway, it's a little bit of a distraction. But finding the place to do it and ask permission, ask those around you for support. So can you imagine a place in your house? Can you see a place that you might be able to just go and sit quietly? You could use calming music or a guided meditation. Those are absolutely fine. Even though there's sound outside, the silence is what's within. So being able to sit with that silence within and hearing the music helps you kind of focus in and concentrate and be able to sit. I like a lot of different kinds of music, and finding the right tones, the right noises, the right pieces that might help that. It's all by personal preference. If you use a guided meditation, find out, is it 20 minutes? Is it an hour? So that you know kind of how long you're going to be sitting. But they're absolutely fine either way. So finding a time. Sometimes people sit in the early morning, starts their day. That's what my task was when I was first learning. It's like get up at 6, go in, sit, meditate, then get up and go to work. Works really well for kind of keeping yourself centered and grounded during your work week or work day. You can do it after work, in the afternoon when you get home. I always think it's not everybody knows about manual drives, shifts, stiff shifts. But when you downshift to second gear, to me, that's what meditation is in the afternoon. You're on this run all day, and then all of a sudden, downshift. You're just sitting in this calm place. Knowing that sitting itself is positive. So sitting for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is that works for you is absolutely fine. You can have a timer. You could use your phone. You can have a little timer. There's lots of apps. There's one called Insight Timer. It's an app that you put on and you just tell them you want to sit for 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, they'll send you a little ping and you're done. So whatever works for you, works for you. Know that everyone has a different approach to meditation. So I co-lead the Sangha 1, as we're calling it now, on Tuesday mornings. And last weekend I asked, what is your practice? Thinking it might give me some insight. I'm preparing for this week's talk. And I said, well, what is your practice? And I think we have about 8, maybe 10 people that kind of attend on a regular basis. Every single person had a different approach. And it just cracked me up. Some people have a more formal approach. Some people have a less formal approach. None of them, there's no one better approach than others. It's like what works for you. Keeping the beginner's mind every time you sit. And realize that sometimes you're going to sit and, your mind's going to be all over the place. And other times you sit and you go deep into that connection of the soul. And allowing yourself to just be there and to feel it. And to feel that energy sinking down in. Every time you do it, it's going to be a little bit different. But setting up that practice is what really helps solidify that feeling. And find a group to sit with. I'm self-promoting here. We're starting an in-person Sangha tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It's going to be here at the church. But sitting with people really helps. So for the last year and a half, I've been sitting with people online. And it's still lovely. It's really lovely. I have the Tuesday group. We have a Sunday group that I sit with. I've been sitting with them since I moved to Phoenix, like in 2011. And they, because I moved over here, I didn't go all the way over to Phoenix every Sunday, but now it's all online. So at 12 o'clock, I run out of here, I go home, and I sit for another 40 minutes in meditation. There are so many different meditation groups online right now that you could find them and find one that fits for you. There are a lot of them associated with different monasteries, different centers. The Center for Spiritual Enlightenment in San Jose has a meditation at 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I sit with Upaya, the Zen Center in Santa Fe. So it's like being able to find those connections and find those people that you want to sit with, because that strengthens your practice. It starts your week off. On a Tuesday, we're like, this is such a great group to just center the week and help us move forward. It's just amazing. So the latest journey, the start on my journey, was the white stone ceremony that we do here after Christmas. So one year, my stone said trust. I thought, I have issues with trust. I need to learn how to trust more. So it's a nice thing. And the second year, it was calling. And then later that year, I started looking at it. I had them both on my desk, and I said, trust the calling. I thought, whoa, that's pretty amazing. So trust the calling was what I really wanted to do, was to work in hospice as a chaplain. So I looked around, and I actually got accepted into Upaya Zen Center Buddhist chaplaincy program. So I'm getting close to the end of my first year in that program. And it's like, you're required to come and sit. So when we're in class online, we sit 3 times a day for an hour. It's pretty intense. But I'll tell you, the end of the week, I am just so at peace with the world and feeling that interconnection of all beings. It's pretty amazing. So I want you to just close your eyes for a second and listen to the following. Let us meditate on the inner light of pure awareness. With each breath, experience waves of joy moving through you until you reach the shore of absolute stillness. Behold the dawn of the supernatural peace arising within you. And that was written by Ellen Grace O'Brien. I saw it when I was looking up stuff, and I thought, boy, that just seems to fit with today. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions at all about setting up a practice, please let me know. Anybody is welcome to the Tuesday group meeting. It's online, or the Monday evening group that is going to be in person. And we just start tomorrow, so it's the first day. So anybody is welcome to come. You can register online if you'd like, but it's not required. And then I've been asked to announce that after services today, there is going to be water and juice out in the garden, and it's being provided by the children. And thanks for the food drive donations. So thank you, and now we'll have some music.
Today has been interesting. I came to be with the youth today and then found out there wasn't a board member. There was a little confusion on it, so I'm up here like, impromptu. Whole day has been like that. So this is the time when we talk about our offering. And, getting involved and giving back to the community has been such a rewarding experience for me and for other people that do it. I have been to a lot of different classes here, and one of the things I always notice is the people that get the most out of it are the ones that get most involved in it. When the facilitator asks for somebody to share or do something, there's those who are silent a lot of times, and then there are those who get interested in it and then participate. And at the end, I hear them talking about how well they did in the book they wrote and all the different things that they've done. It's really wonderful. And I feel the same way about giving back to this community. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You can give online. You can go to Amazon and register with them. So part of every time you make a purchase, it goes to the Unity of the East Valley. Same thing with Fry's Rewards. And there's an online app you can use. It's been made much more simple. Go to unityofmesa.org to look that up and anything else you need to know. Of course, you can do donations directly. There's buckets around. There's always checks we'd love to have. There's all sorts of ways of giving, but it's also giving of our time and our talent and of ourselves. So I'd encourage you for all that. It really has demonstrated itself through this community that the more we give, the more we receive. It's just, we don't do it for that reason, but it works out that way. So what else would I? Oh, the other thing I would speak about is that Judy referenced that we're going to possibly have Daniel Namod come, and that we would need some assistance with that. We just had a big tree taken down outside. It was a much bigger endeavor than even the people taking down the tree realized, because it took cranes to drop these great big trees without doing any damage along the way. And then what do you do with all the tree itself? So, and our air conditioning, there's, I don't know how many air conditioners here, over a dozen between the buildings. And when we did the renovation for the Creating Tomorrow, we got a whole bunch of them, but the one we didn't get is in the back offices where the staff work. and it's not working right now. So anything you can do to participate in assisting with that, or any of the things, any way you want. It's one of the blessings that we have here, that we have ways of sharing. So with all that in mind, please take your gifts in your hands and in your hearts and join me in our prayer. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Blessings are the givers and the gifts. Thank you. Talk about the board with the search. Oh, see, there's more to do. So another thing, giving along that idea of being involved, I've been coming for about 13 years, and I've done a lot of things. I started out in the bookstore. I've been over with the youth. I've done ushering. I've just done that stuff where I try to get involved because I really, 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 really like it here. And I've been asked for a few times to join the board or to run for the board. And it took a while for me to learn how to say yes to that. Once I finally did, and luckily or so, I was chosen by the congregation to be on the board. And it's one of the greatest honors I've ever had. It's a wonderful group of people serving and helping and being a part of a wonderful community, working with wonderful people. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely fantastic. Does it take a little bit of my time? Does it take a little bit of my effort and a little bit of extra sometimes? Sure. But it's really worth it. So if you'd like to consider that, and you are a member, so yeah, one thing you have to be is a member, and you'd like to be on the board, there is a process, and let one of the board members know sooner rather than later. I'm sure the deadline's coming up really quickly. So you'd have to, go ahead and fill out the application, interview, blah, 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 and then the congregation will vote. And it'll be an opportunity to be involved and to serve and to enrich your lives. So going along with that, and then to finish, we are looking for a new minister. I'm on the member search committee as the representative for the board. And at this time, we have 4 different people applying, which is really, really wonderful. And there will probably be a time pretty soon here where I'm on the board, but I'm on the committee, but I'm not leading the committee. So the committee leaders will find a time for us to get together and start discussing some of the applicants. So it's all working, it's all going along, it's moving forward, and it's really quite another way that we get to serve and another way that we're all involved. So it's working out. Good. Thank you.
Check. Cool. I want to thank Karen for asking us to sing this song. I think you're going to really like it. Blessed to chant. This very breath is yours, this heartbeat is your praise. I was born for you and I live as you will, my time and place. Where do I come from? Where do I go? Source of all being beyond all control. Baruch atah Adonai, Jeram Ram Jeram, Elohim Melech Haolam, Jeram Ram Jeram, Baruch atah Adonai, Jeram Ram Jeram, Elohim Melech Haolam, Jeram Ram Jeram.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Holy names are healing my ancestors' wounded nights. If anything can be wrong, everything can be made right. Holy to love, servant of praise. We rest all alone in this quiet space. So blessed to chant Baruch atah Adonai. Ram Ram Jai Ram. Elohelu melech haolam. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram.
Elohenu melech haolam. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Giver of life, filled with mercy, luminous light, generous blessing, giver of life, open all the doors. My life is your love. Your love is my life, I'm yours. Baruch atah Adonai. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Eloheinu melech haolam. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Baruch atah Adonai. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Eloheinu melech haolam. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Baruch atah Adonai. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Eloheinu melech haolam. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Baruch atah Adonai. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. Eloheinu melech haolam. Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram. V'kaya.
So I felt right at home there. Thank you. And parents, if we've got any parents still left in here, children can be picked up out in the garden, and do definitely invite all of you to go out to the garden through this big exit sign here to enjoy hospitality for the first time in a year and a half out there. It's simple, but it's delightful, and take a few minutes to at least walk out and say thank you to the kids for offering it to us. Chaplains are available for one-on-one prayer. I've got John here, and I've got Sharon, I've got Erica back there. And you can meet in here or out in the garden, either place. And I think that is it. An update on the air conditioner. We've got about half the money we need for it. So I think we need about $3,000 more, and you guys are an amazing congregation. And I will tell you, 10 years with working with boards here, there has never been an issue. There has never been any of the nightmare stories you hear about church boards. This is an amazing place to serve. So if you've got any inkling, we would love to have several people to choose from for the congregation. And I turn it over as we leave. We invite you to say what to everybody?
Namaste.
Prayer for protection
Prayer for
first.
protection.
Yeah, okay. So if we can stand together and we can pray out. I promise my head will be back on right next week. Okay, together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is and always will. Have a blessed week, everyone.
Yes, namaste. There we go. Greatest, greatest, greatest.